Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to another episode of the Dork Side of the Ring podcast. I am your host, your gracious host, your great host, your grateful host. Yeah, we'll go with that one this week. I am the purveyor of all things dorky within the scope of professional wrestling and sports entertainment. I am Grumm. And you are here again for another episode of the Dork Side of the Ring. If you're listening to this I keep saying ad-free because of other podcasts. If you're listening to this early on Patreon, bam, there you go. That's what I meant to say. If you're listening to this early on Patreon, awesome. I'm recording this. I'm kind of rushed. So if that's why I'm rushed, it's because of the Patreon thing. I procrastinated. And I couldn't remember that word yesterday. I was buying I'm going to a wedding this weekend. I needed to buy a new tie to match my girlfriend's dress and all that stuff because I wanted to match it, blah, 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 you know, that kind of stuff. And I procrastinated and got it last night. But no, so if you're listening to this early, awesome. If you're listening to this next week, this week is the final Monday before Halloween. It's Halloween week. Spooky season is almost over. But that's why we're doing a two-part, because we got it. Because next Saturday is Halloween. This Sunday, as you person listening to this on the 25th, this Sunday is Halloween. And I thought, what better to do? And as you've seen from the topic of the title, maybe you don't understand the connection here, but read the description, listen to my voice. We're talking about Halloween HaVoc 1995, which is an event in and of itself that is worth the entire topic of Dork Side of the Ring and the label of it. Today we have the first of two-part. We're doing a two-parter. Next week's episode ties in with this week's episode, but this week's episode we got my friends Slayer and we got my friend ImperialJedi. We're doing the first part of what really this whole event is kind of about and why it's remembered fondly as a dork side entry, I should say. Yeah, we've got the Sumo monster truck match. We'll get into it a little bit. Basically, Hulk Hogan and the Giant pushed each other they pushed each other in a sumo match of monster trucks on top of a building, and what ensues is quite hilarious. So we get Slayer on, we got Jedi, we got Slay 3K, ImperialJedi, aka Slayer and Jedi, not Jedi Slayer. That's a copyrighted term from a video game, so we don't advertise them together like that. I think it's Jedi Slayer. I think from the Force Unleashed 2. Starkiller. Is it Stark? I don't remember. Either way, here's what I do know. We're going to have a fun episode ahead of ourselves, so let's get to that episode here today. Slay 3K, ImperialJedi, myself, talking about Halloween HaVoc 1995's sumo wrestling match. Or sumo monster truck match. Sorry, sumo monster truck match. It's ridiculous that my brain did not even think of that right away. Let's get to the thing. Ring the bell!
Please don't get me banned.
Yes, I won't get you banned.
Yeah, the
don't
Twitch
worry.
chat for doing this now, please. I didn't know this was gonna be. I thought this was wrestling.
This guy's just talking. I don't even know. What's your name? Gummy Bear?
Gummy Bear. I love that. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Slay's been calling me Grummy Bear for a cool 2.5 years at this point. And I just got Slay. That's it. No cute nickname for Slayer. The former BB. Slayer. BB. So we're here on the Dork Side of the Ring. I think I might just lead in with just that, and everything else will stay out. But yes, here on the Dork Side of the Ring with my two friends from the realm of Twitch streaming. Let me do this alphabetically. We got ImperialJedi and we've got Slay 3K. How are you guys doing today?
Oh, good. No complaints.
Yeah, just vibing.
All right, just vibes. And so it's a nice Monday. You know.
Was your Monday? Agreed.
Was your Monday good?
Yeah, today is election day in Canada.
Oh boy.
Random.
Yeah, the emergency
today's
election.
not election day.
Today we get to take part in the process, and then I get the right to complain after, I guess, right?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, people will say if you don't partake in the process, that gives you the right to complain. But I feel like people are going to complain anyways with a part of the process or whatnot. But that's everybody's democratic right to vote. Exclamation point asterisk, depending on.
Love it. Opening
things.
with politics.
It's
safe.
great. Look,
I read that in the books.
Hey, look. My podcast, anything is on the table, and we don't shy away from the things. However, but what we won't shy away from is having a proper introduction of my guests. We're going to start. We start alphabetically here. ImperialJedi, my friend. The floor is yours.
Well, hello. I'm ImperialJedi. I'm a Canadian. I'm a YouTuber, and I stream on Twitch. Also, I think T-Grumm's pretty cool.
That's a very concise, not even, not where are you on YouTube, or you're just like, I'm on YouTube, you can find me.
Yeah, I gained so much from that.
Yeah,
well, it's what did you say? ImperialJedi, right? So just Google
here. Okay, so here we go. Here, I'll introduce yourself. You're so humble.
Thank God. Please
you're so humble.
Okay.
First up, we have ImperialJedi, a City Skylines just master in designing and mastering all the mods. If you like city planning games or management games, ImperialJedi is the guy for you. He is the ace tutor in my book of all things City Skylines. You can find a lot of his tutorials and walkthroughs for cities on his YouTube. That's ImperialJedi. And if you want to see them live when he's farting around, he loves jazz music. He loves just, making the goofs and having a nice, fun conversation with his community. Check him out, twitch.tv/ImperialJedi.
Dude, that was good, man. I'd watch that.
That's what you're supposed to do.
Right there. Yeah. Can we I wish we could replay Jedi. So it was hi, I'm Jedi, and I stream on Twitch.
I'm on YouTube, and I'm on Twitch.
I don't know how much time you take up for this. I don't know.
You got plenty of time.
Really give enough time to plug YouTube or something. One other thing.
Are you
the one-liner? Do you want to leave him hanging?
Oh, if you got any more concise Jedi, you would have abbreviated your name.
I'm IJ. That's it. So, are you on Twitter? Are there any socials?
Twitter,
what are your social media accounts that the people?
ImperialJedi is pretty much me through the board.
All right. Okay. See, there we go. All right. Slay, you now have the floor, my friend.
Well, I'm Slay3K. I stream on Twitch as well as I create content on YouTube, and you can find me on Twitter at Slay3K. And I typically stream a lot of City Skylines, just like Jedi does. And I don't have any of the cool I'm the tutor or whatever you said, Grumm, but I do that, and then I also do a bunch of community.
You do tutorial videos.
Listen, hey, this is I have the floor. Hello.
Oh, right. Sorry.
I feel like I have to start over now. No, but I do a lot of community-oriented stuff with my channel, along with having a bunch of friends on, and we play things like Sea of Thieves. We recently played Pummel Party, and we have a pretty good heckin' time.
Hell yeah! See, look at that. That's it. I've come to find out that just fun thing. I've had some international flavor. I've had Canadians. I've had British folk. Americans are great at plugging their own shit. They're just Americans. We're gonna plug our shit. But apparently everybody else is humble.
I think that's just because we just get out there. You know what I mean?
That's true.
It's an interesting analysis, though. Actually, you mentioned that.
It's just freedom.
Because I've had Citra on, and he didn't really plug anything that well. He just said, "I'm Citra."
Wow, what do you call him out, eh?
It's more likely for a Canadian to actually apologize multiple times throughout their introduction.
I'm sorry.
Jedi, to me, Jedi or Citra is going to be like, "I'm twitch.tv/ImperialJedi." I'm sorry.
I went too far.
If I could just get a minute of your time there, boys, just for a second, you can tell you where you can find me.
Yeah, no, but that. So, if anybody's wondering, because I don't give off the City Skyline vibes. If people are wondering how I came across these two fine, creative gentlemen, the three of us were on the Crew RP. And
hell yeah!
That's where our friendships were forged. Dr. Diabolical, that would be ImperialJedi.
Yes.
and
Carter Phillips.
and Carter Phillips. This is true. And then Curtis Jenkins was Slay, who was just
That was
from
a long time ago.
just from Alabama, and he wanted a boat.
Can we do a shout out to G Money too, just for fun?
We could, you know what? We can do Yumbledore. Go check out Yumbledore, twitch.tv/ or Yumble. It's not Yumbledore, it's Yumble.
Yeah,
Yumble
Yumble
TV.
Yumble TV. Yeah, my bad.
And
my
then what
bad.
was Empire? Chad. That's who
Chad.
it was.
Yeah.
Yep.
YUMBL TV.
Mhm.
Yeah, Yumble. He's Yumble TV on YouTube as well, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay. So it's a lot of fun. If you're interested in building your own city for mayhem reasons or for realistic reasons, the three people involved, great people to do so. So
It's so funny
Honestly,
to me
we have
how
a good
so
group,
many of
man.
us
It's
came
great.
from the same like
Yeah,
background.
exactly.
and then there's me, who's like, yeah, no, I'm not playing that game. You could you.
Grum, do you play video games?
Occasionally, I do a little bit of role play. You can find me currently. By the time this drops in like late August, I probably will be slowly transitioning off
Late
of Twitch.
August, yo.
Or October, late October.
Wait, a whole year.
I'm going
Next
backwards
year.
in time. Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna keep this.
There's another one
I'm
coming around. I don't know.
I'm
if you know.
gonna keep it in the can for a little bit. 2022. You guys' first appearance won't be till 2022.
Yeah,
if
this
you're lucky.
will be relevant then.
Yeah.
Wow, you record a lot of these ahead of time. I think.
I mean, I'm trying to get like the year 2021 done because I have Grummus and I'm doing this open up at a Patreon and not streaming on Twitch but streaming in my Discord. So we'll see how that goes. But the interesting thing really is just kind of like just doing a just a thought process of like how we all just came together because one person decided to play Grand Theft Auto roleplay from the city skylines, and then another, and then another, then another, then another, and then next thing you know, here we are talking about professional
Also,
wrestling.
years later too, by the way.
Yeah, years. I remember fondly the last TwitchCon that ever happened or ever will happen.
2019, I want to say. I think, yeah.
The next one won't happen until 2032 when the pandemic's over.
Probably,
So,
right?
God, I hope not. I hope the pandemic.
Don't jinx it, by the way. Yeah, I'm secretly hoping there'll be an announcement. Be like, hey guys, who wants to come?
I'm not.
Twitch?
See,
Here we go.
I'm not going. I don't think it's responsible to go.
No,
but
yeah,
that's
see,
it. That's
okay,
it.
that is a fair point. International travel during the pandemic. That is a fair point.
Yeah. It's also like I just on par with like wrestling. Like this week as we record, there's a company who is hosting. They're putting on a show inside of the Arthur Ashe Stadium in New York, and they're gonna have New York, almost 18,000 people in the arena, and I'm like, it's 18,000 people.
Yeah, it's a chunk of change. Well, as long as they're following like the local mandates, I guess.
Yeah, it's still like
maybe.
just like that's just a lot of people to be like, all right, everybody's vaccinated, everybody's wearing masks, this is good. Like hopefully nobody has it and spreads it, and we're doing everything right, and this is good. But like myself, I'm just
I will tell. That's the only thing I think.
yeah, like I'm just like, I'm not. Yeah, time will tell. That's basically 2 weeks from now. We'll find out.
Yeah.
But yeah. So speaking of wrestling, Slayer, we'll start with you since we went the introductions for Jedi first. What is your you have any background as a fan or as a performer in professional wrestling?
So much. You guys might be surprised to know this, but I used to wrestle.
Nice.
No, what? Really?
No, I didn't. I
Wait,
didn't have that
really?
built out. Came kind of quick. No, I do a little bit. I was a fan of professional wrestling. I'm gonna guesstimate here. I think it was probably centered around about 6th grade.
Okay.
So that would have been like 2099, somewhere around there, maybe.
That's around that kind of height,
okay.
I think, too, actually.
Yeah, in Grumm, you may know this better than I, but like I remember I was a fan of Hulk Hogan way back in the day.
Oh, yeah, brother.
Yeah.
And when I remember NWO when that first started.
All right, there we go.
And then I remember Goldberg coming into the picture,
yeah,
and
Goldberg.
that was like when I was like full on all about it. So it probably was a couple years before then, like off and on. I watched WWE primarily because WWF I think was harder for me typically to
Oh, you mean WCW? You mean?
WCW, yes, yeah.
I was
WCW.
gonna say
police coming in here. Hold on.
no.
That was
Well, no, because
typically
there's
what I was
yeah.
like
No, I know, they
catching
changed
more so than anything else. Plus, like I feel like my parents are probably more like, no, you watch WCW, you can't watch the other one.
I was gonna say you are in an area that was very heavily WCW. WCW being owned by Ted Turner,
right,
and very big in the
No way, the
South.
CNN guy owned WCW?
Yes, yep.
I didn't realize that. That makes sense.
Yeah, so they were very big in like Georgia. Atlanta was their number one like big city. But they would go to like several places. They would do shows in Marietta, Georgia, because they had they had a lot of talent from Marietta, Georgia. Like they had
so that's interesting because I actually went to one. I went to a show. I don't want to dox myself, but it was in probably a town a little bit bigger than Marietta. Okay. And it surprised me because it was a small venue. You know, it wasn't like they weren't gonna like roll in the cameras for that one.
No.
It was cool because I think it was a Goldberg fight. I think. He was headlining. And I want to say, and I cannot remember his name for the life of me. The big guy, the big show or whatever.
Oh, the Giant.
Yeah,
the Giant.
He was
Andre the Giant.
No. His name was just the Giant. It was implied that he was Andre's son.
Yep. I'm trying to remember if he was the guy he fought, like or wrestled.
Okay, so
I can't remember.
Like 98, late 98, probably.
Yeah. And then I remember too, I actually had a friend that knew I was like fascinated at the time because see, like when Hulk Hogan went to NWO, like obviously the idea is that like he's the bad guy, right? So I needed my good guy, and that became Goldberg just because you know he looked tough and he ran out, speared people, whatever, and did his thing. And then I had a friend that I actually have an autograph from Goldberg somewhere, like in a closet.
That's cool.
Like on a receipt. Like,
that's fucking
with
cool.
Like a little collage of pictures of him. So
Goldberg is an interesting person because he understands that he's a role model and that every time, like, he could meet 70,000 kids and he is the same. He's got the same energy from the first kid to the 70,000s. Like he's like, I'm making this kid's life today by just talking to him. Like he's very aware.
People do that.
But at the same time, he often like conflates like his importance to the industry. He was one of the biggest stars, but he was kind of this like weird. Like if you were to take a professional wrestler and just start from scratch in a lab, and like this guy is going to be immensely popular within a year, and it's like we're just gonna fucking do it, and he just like has this weird like, oh, I respect the business, when it's very clear he never really did. Like he wanted to be a professional football player and went to wrestling when he blew out his knee twice. So like it's very weird where it's just like, oh, you could get the love for it, but don't say you've always respected it because you wanted to be this. Like it's very weird. He's overall, I think
odd. Like I didn't know, obviously, as a kid, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Remotely as much. No, and like I enjoyed it because, like, you know, you want that guy that's just gonna kick everybody's ass,
and that's what he was.
Oh, he was. Like he would go in the ring, and you knew he was gonna like get beat up a little bit, but he was gonna win. Like he was gonna at the last minute, the guy would be celebrating, and you turn around, and Goldberg's gonna spear him, and that's the end. You know, the beginning of the end for the other guy. Like, I don't know. At the time, like when Hulk went over to NWO or started that, I guess. Yep. It was just like, oh, like you felt sort of, I guess, betrayed, you know. And then here comes Goldberg, who's dominant and like in the ring, beating up everybody who they put in front of him. And that was sort of like this weird thing where you had this one guy that kind of did his own thing, being Goldberg, and then you had this whole NWO setup. It was a very interesting time, I think, and that was like once. Somewhere in Goldberg's career, I don't think he had exited, is kind of when it started, like wrestling started to fade for me as like my main interest. I don't know what I went to afterwards, but yeah, that was kind of the peak, was right around that whole time frame. And
then around high school is when you're like, it's not cool anymore to like wrestling, so I'm not gonna write that.
I think it was like I think it was prior to 8th grade.
Okay,
I don't remember 100%.
I was gonna say, which sounds about right, because 2000 is like the end of WCW, and WWE kind of like is going through a weird growth period of like, they've bought everybody, so now we have to figure out what the fuck we're doing with that.
Yeah, because I remember like later going back and looking at it, I was like really confused as to where things ended up. Because I definitely it started to fade for me. Probably, I would say maybe towards the end of 6th grade. It could have been one of those things where, you're all into it, and that one summer, things just kind of change. You're hanging out. Because I remember us like friends talking about, it's like Pokemon. It's like you're all into Pokemon, and then all of a sudden that one summer hits, and everyone's like into this video game. Like
you leave it to the side. What about you, Jedi? It sounds like very similar.
I cannot follow that at all. I mean, a lot of nostalgia from what Slay was saying, but some of those names, man, I haven't heard in ages.
I was gonna say it sounded like similar timelines of enjoying.
Yeah, similar. I feel like I'm a little bit older than Slay. I don't actually remember. I don't want to ask.
How old are you?
I think I'm 35 in human years now.
I like how you had to clarify what type of years.
I also like that he said, "I think." Like he's just like, "I think."
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
you got 2 years.
I think I just turned 35. Okay. Because I remember like he was more grade school for me, and then like probably around like grade 6, grade 7 is when I started losing a bit of interest because my friends started losing interest.
That sounds about right. Me, I just always liked it because I had.
Grade 4, like everyone had those Stretch Armstrong dolls and like Hulk Hogan.
Well, somewhere. Do you guys remember the? It wasn't really a doll. It was kind of like a pillow, like not even a plushie.
It
came skinned like
Wrestle
Hulk
Buddies.
Hogan.
Yeah, I think.
I had one of those.
Sounds kind of correct.
Yeah. Yep. There was the initial like wave in the 80s, and then they came back in the 90s because wrestling was popular again. They're like, well, we might as well just throw Hulk Hogan's face on it, and we might as well put Sting and Goldberg. And guess what? We could use the Goldberg ones for Stone Cold Steve Austin ones. Let's do this. But it's just like, yeah. All right. So Jedi, you're
so it's more like big grade 4 kind of thing. I got into wrestling a little bit. I know kind of like the big names, right? But everything that Slay said, I could not even like recount a quarter of that. Man, like, how do you remember all this stuff? I'm getting pure nostalgia though. I remember the transfer from like WWF to WWE, and then the New World Order stuff breaking out, and then I remember. Gosh, what was it? I remember when The Rock was actually popular as a wrestler, with that whole can you smell?
Can you smell what The Rock is cooking? Yeah.
And then having weird flashbacks too when like Trump was in the ring those few times.
Oh boy, yeah. WrestleMania 23.
Crazy times.
Yeah.
I think my friends just kind of grew out of it, and I just maybe had like a 2 or 3 year kind of jaunt where I was like semi into it. It was fun, and like if tickets presented themselves, I'd love to go to a local event kind of vibe. But I just never really did too much carry through with that.
Yeah, live wrestling is a lot of fun.
Big energy.
It's the one thing I miss, and I'm just like, I need this pandemic to like, I need everything about the pandemic, the anxieties and everything. I need them gone so I can enjoy my wrestling again. But that takes me to the next question. Very similar to professional wrestling. Have either of you guys ever gone to monster truck shows?
Oh hell yes, dude! What a crossover! Yeah, I remember doing that too as a kid. Crowds too, right?
I don't. Think
it's almost a circle. People who enjoy
Gravedigger. I saw Gravedigger at the Sky Dome.
Goldberg had his own personal one. There was a
cool.
Goldberg monster truck. Still for like a while
random
too.
Question. I remember when I was a kid, there was that wrestler that performed that move, and he passed away because it didn't go well.
There's been a couple we've talked about. There's been
that's a heavy thing to suddenly bring up. I remember that as a kid.
There's been a couple deaths in the ring, but I think you might be thinking of Chris Benoit.
Yes, Chris Benoit. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he didn't die in the ring. In fact, he committed double murder suicide.
That's not what I'm thinking of. Then who was the one that jumped from like the top?
I like how you let him on with that. Like, you might be thinking of this person. Yeah.
Okay. So all right. So you're thinking. All right. You're thinking of Owen Hart, who did not perform a wrestling move. He was coming down. He was entering for a match, and his harness and shit fucked up, and he plummeted to his death.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of then.
Yeah, that was like the 99s.
Yeah, I think that's like one of the last big
roller coaster right now.
Look, Slate. That's what we get on the dork side. Is just like, hey, like that's why I love having like either older fans who like just never kept up, and they're just like, "Hey, can you explain more about this guy who died in the ring?" I'm like, "Yes, I can tell that story."
I love the pivot. It's like, okay, you guys know about wrestling.
Yeah.
Now, guess what? We're actually talking about Monster Truck.
Well, it's like I said, it's
NASCAR.
It's related. You were talking about Goldberg. Goldberg has his own monster truck. You know, it's. I just wanted to know if you guys had ever. I've gone to a couple of them. They're fun, especially when you're a kid. You're just like, yeah, and then when you're older, you're like,
yeah.
yeah. And when you're older and you go to them, you're just like, yes. I just want to drive. Yeah, you don't. It's the one thing you don't outgrow because destruction is universal across all ages.
Yo, this coming Saturday, I'm actually going to a demolition derby.
Oh boy, they're so much fun too. And then you can reuse the cars for Monster Truck Show.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the gift that keeps on giving. Exactly.
I've played Wreckfest. Does that count for anything?
Kind of.
It's
yeah,
such a fun game.
It's a good game. Good game.
Man, we are all over the place, aren't we?
But here's the thing. I can't wait to tell you why all of this is going to come together. So
there's a master plan here. I like
it is. It is a master plan. So my last question before I tell you guys what we're going to watch and we watch it. This episode is releasing like a week before Halloween. So I decided to do a two-parter, basically, a two-parter Dork Side. So this week's episode is the first part of the event that we're going to watch, and next week's episode, which will upload on November 1st, the day after Halloween, are going to be related to each other. I was like, all right, cool. I gotta do it. So you guys are getting the front half of this. So it's Halloween related. Do you guys have a favorite like horror movie monster?
I like Candyman. I'm not sure if he counts though.
The new one is nice. I've heard very good things.
Original.
The original. Yeah, the original was
Candyman. I haven't seen the new one yet.
New one I heard.
I still like old movies. You just can't beat those.
No, it's pretty good. What about you there, Slay?
Not really. I don't watch many like horror movies, so it's hard for me to say. I mean, I know of them. You know, all the Halloweens and all those. You know, like
like Freddy versus Jason.
Yeah, like I know of the characters, but I don't really. That's not really my my avenue.
That's all right. Okay. I was just wondering because we are watching something from the 1995 pay-per-view, Halloween HaVoc, from WCW. Okay. What we're going to watch involves two guys we mentioned earlier already, Hulk Hogan and the Giant. At this time in 1999, the Giant had debuted earlier in the year as the son of Andre the Giant. And he's trying to befriend Hulk Hogan, and then just when Hogan trusts him, he turns his back on him and he joins the Dungeon of Doom. And he makes it a quest to end Hulkamania because Hulkamania ruined his father's life. Blah, 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 blah. The Giant, a.k.a. Big Show, a.k.a. Paul White, is like a clear 7'2", 420 pounds at this time. He is svelte, big boy, looking good, and he's getting over as this big monster heel. Hulk Hogan, doing what he normally does, wearing red and yellow, and being this... overcome every odds, except now because the red and yellow of Hulk Hogan is starting to get kind of boring to the point where people are legitimately just booing him, which is not what you want your good guy to be. And so they kind of play around with this whole morality of like, well, he's the Giant changed me, brother. I have to turn into something darker. I have to become a darker version of myself. And it's just Hulk Hogan hamming it up. So,
Hulk Hogan brother, by the way.
Thank you. Hulk Hogan has a motorcycle that he likes. It's nice, bright red and yellow. He's got a motorcycle. The Giant decides to drive a monster truck over it, which leads to what we're going to watch, which is the first of their two matches that night. The two of them had two matches. One of them was for a regular wrestling match for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship that Hulk Hogan had. The first match was a standard, no title on the line, standard, everyday, run-of-the-mill, monster truck sumo match on the top of the Joe Louis Arena in Detroit, Michigan.
On top of it?
On top of it.
Jesus.
Yep.
Who approves this stuff, eh? Like, that's crazy stuff.
It is exactly just the kind of thing that even me as an avid wrestling fan, I say it and I describe it, and I still can't get over it, because it just is. It's preposterous, is what it really is. So, what are you guys expecting us that we're gonna watch in this match?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I literally have no idea because this
you
sound real.
If you had to make a prediction, just anything, what is the most wildest thing you could come up with from your brain?
Fighter jets going over top.
Okay.
Someone falls off the roof.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that could be. Okay, that's a real safety concern. Or they fall through the roof itself.
Fall through the roof. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do here on the Dork Side of the Ring, if you are a Peacock subscriber like myself, and you would like to, we're going to watch. I'm going to give these guys a little bit of a context to the feud here. We're watching Halloween Havoc from 1995. That's season 7, episode 1 of Halloween Havoc. The timestamp is 1 hour 46 seconds and 1 hour 46 minutes and 6 seconds. We'll be right back here on the Dork Side of the Ring. Hey, it's just me jumping on in here, and while I got a little bit of break here between, the pre and the post video reaction, all that stuff. Hey, if you would like to, you're more than welcome to continue listening and supporting us for free by just listening, just like this. In fact, tell some people about it. That might cost you a relationship, depending on somebody's feelings about podcast recommendations, but you don't want to be friends with that kind of person who would throw away a relationship over a podcast recommendation, plus one, knowing that you are right in recommending this podcast to them. You could also follow us on Twitter at DorksideRing. You can also follow us on Instagram at DorksideRing. And as I'm doing this, if you go to Dorkside Ring, it looks like it's out of date. I know. I'm aware. I'm working on that. One man band over here, baby. I'm on my Heath Slater shit. But if you would like to bump up your support in a financial way, maybe for the podcast, maybe just in general, Patreon is up and available, and on there is indeed early access. If you're listening to this, next week's episode is absolutely up there, and you're going, oh, cool. If you're listening to this, you're probably listening. If you're listening to this in your Patreon, I'm working on the kinks of adding something for in between the pre and the post, but the simple answer is check out the Patreon. I don't know where I was going with this. Again, I'm clock watching right now. Patreon.com/Grumm or support.grumm.tv. That's right, because it's not just the podcast there. There's also YouTube stuff that I work on. You can also check out my Twitch stream. Well, not on Twitch. Well, for now, it's Twitch streams, but it'll be Discord streams. You get in the Discord, you can talk about the Dork Side of the Ring there as well, and you get a fun little role there. Also, you help out entrepreneur. That's entrepreneur. I might leave that cough in. No, I won't leave that cough in. That's right. You didn't hear that cough. That's right. Patreon.com/Grumm, or support.grumm.tv. Or if you just want to join the Discord, join.grumm.tv. You can join the Discord right there. Also on there, for Dorkside stuff, we have from episode 3, me, Jim Jam, and Diggy talking about the the King of the Road match. And in fact, here's a little clip. Here, enjoy a little clip, a little taste of what you can find over on the Patreon. You go to support.grumm.tv.
If they had popped a flat live television, I would have pissed.
Like, you can't do this.
Like,
you can't do this in Philadelphia. There's way too many potholes.
They do it in Philadelphia.
Somebody fucking try to give him a Michinoku driver and hit a pothole and drop him on his fucking neck before he's ready.
They do this shit in Philly, and out of nowhere, as you're driving, they're driving along down a road, and you just see a car blazing at top speeds to get up there, and then it's gritty from the NHL, and you're like, oh, it's gritty.
you enjoyed that little taste, more of it is on the Patreon, patreon.com/Grumm, or just simply support.grumm.tv. You can find that early episodes every week of more Dork Side. You can also, depending on your tier, maybe you get some more exclusive episodes. I think I want to do like full-on watch-along episodes that we watch, like a full event, like watching back the King of the Road thing. I remember just the 1995 pay-per-view, uncensored pay-per-view being wild, the whole thing being wild. So figure out I might do that as an exclusive as well. But in the meantime, go there, keep supporting for free if you want to. Also, leave a 5-star review. I can't believe I didn't say that in the first part. Leave a 5-star review on the Apple Podcast app, and that'll help us grow. Tell your friends about us. Let people know. Let the wrestling fan, the sports entertainment fan, the non-wrestling fan in your life know about us. Even I want you to just tell them about the Dork Side of the Ring, because they might think it's something interesting, and then you can confirm to them that it is something, in fact, interesting. Let's get back to the podcast with me, Slayer, and ImperialJedi. So that is the that was the Sumo match, and a little bit of the fallout as the announcers, Eric Bischoff and Bobby the Brain Heenan and the monster truck expert, tried to make sense of what they just saw. We're going to try that. So before the break, the two of you, I asked you what you think would happen. Jedi, you said fighter jets before changing based off of... that would have been fun, right? But Slayer nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. But did they fall off? Did they go off the way you thought they were going to go off?
Did they? I mean, kind of.
Okay.
Like, I'll be honest. Like, when you're telling me the idea, I'm sitting there like, this is a lot. And it was a lot. So I really kind of figured, you're on a roof, right? Where do you go from here?
Yeah.
And given the outlandish, kind of performances you might see, like, that just made sense. And here we are.
Wrestling's not real?
Wow.
It's real. It's just scripted. Okay.
Real in your heart.
It's real.
Yeah, right.
It's real in reality. Damn it! It's just scripted. All right.
I didn't mean to bring you down. Yeah, and destroy you there.
And it's still real though, right?
It is. It is. It was a lot. It was. It was a lot. So, if you didn't watch it and then come back and listen with us, we'll do a little recap here. We watched the lead up to the story, basically, how we got here, which was. It all started with the Giant throwing his quote unquote father's shirt at Hulk Hogan, going, "Do you remember this?" Like, could you imagine somebody just walks up to you, goes, "Do you remember this?" and throws a piece of clothing at you?
No context. You'd be like, what?
Well, I mean, like, there's some context. Is that they're a very large human being. Like, all right, you're clearly somebody I should know, because otherwise you might kill me. But do you remember this? And just throw a T-shirt at him.
I just feel like there's got to be someone that was in an apartment complex or something, like down the street, that was watching it, sitting there going, "What in the shit is going on over there right now?" First of all, because those things are loud, right? Mm-hmm. You're gonna hear the trucks, and then you got some guy falling, and like it, I don't know if they had like a netting, down or whatever. That's a big dude just to throw off a building.
Yeah.
But, because I was half expecting like to see someone like connect a wire. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that could have been a.
And then it's apparent too, like the water, like there's no frame of reference of where the water is, which
None.
is like my favorite part of the camera. They're just like, water. That's where he went. And you have no idea like what side of the building we're on. Nothing.
No. So we get the monster truck, as I said before we started watching. The Giant ran over the beloved Harley of one Hulk Hogan, and which led to the monster truck thing. But also forgot to tell that not once but twice does the Giant, feign snapping the neck of Hulk Hogan, like as instructed by his handler, like to snap his neck And like, I don't like it's been done before, like since, but it's just a weird, like it's a weird move to do in professional wrestling, to where you're just like, I'm gonna hold this man's neck and then pretend to snap it, and it's like, what?
You know what? Now that you say that, it's like everything between them is just like, wait. That's not big enough. How do we do it just a little bit bigger? We're gonna break his neck again. Perfect.
Yeah, he comes out wearing Hulk Hogan, prior to the event, a couple weeks before, comes out with a neck brace. He rips off his shirt, talks his shit. He's leaving, and then an old lady throws cocaine in his face. The old lady's turns out to be the old lady turns out to be Kevin Sullivan, the task. And then they snap. That ends up the second time snapping his neck. But somehow, Hulk Hogan comes back the following week, dressed in black, mourning his beloved mustache that they shaved off after they snapped his neck for a second time. And they just take a buzzer to his mustache, and it is the most disgraceful thing that has ever happened to Hulk Hogan.
I'm just wondering, was there an interview about like razor burn after that by chance?
I don't think so. I mean,
did he apply aftershave?
No, I don't believe he did. A lot of sweat too. That's probably bad because you're gonna get an ingrown hair and some infection. That's not good. But then the Hogan on the last Monday Nitro, he basically like starts to beat up him, but then Macho Man's like, no, wait, brother, don't fight him, brother. You're not okay. Your neck's broken. It's like, I'm fighting this guy in 6 days. Like, what the fuck? Like, what am I doing here? Why are we just... What do you mean I'm not fit? I'm going to be okay in 6 days? What the fuck? But no, and then we get to the actual event, and they explain that they bring the guy in to, basically be like, hey, I built this thing. And they're like, yeah, so tell us a little bit about it. He's like, we put the best engine we got in there. It runs on alcohol. What more do you need? He's like, huh? They're like, what's the horse?
So American, too. It's just like 1,500 horsepower, 6 feet tires. Each tire weighs 1,000 pounds, and it runs on alcohol. Like, here we go, boys. We're on the roof.
It's just like, wait. Bobby the Brain Heenan's like, wait, each tire is 1,000 pounds? He goes, yep, the whole thing's 11. He goes, that's 5.5 tons. He goes, yeah. He's like, and there's going to be 2 of them on a roof. It's like...
I do like too. He was like, "That's like 2 Greyhound buses or school buses or whatever." It's like, you just randomly know that.
Sure. Well, what the cars are like 1 to 1.5 ton roughly, right? Maybe a bit less if you had tiny.
Yeah, a little bit less. Yeah, but it's just funny that it's just like it is just like, yeah, no, like 2 Greyhound buses are as heavy. It's like, do you have anything else for us, Bobby the Brain? Like, do you have any other comparisons? Like, is it 5 minivans? Is it 7.5 motorcycles? Like, what are we doing here? Like,
yeah.
Math for the crowd.
Also, it rained apparently.
Also, so the actual content that the whole point of this was the sumo match of the century. Not since the greatest sumo. It would be the greatest professional wrestling sumo match until WrestleMania 21, where Big Show, who was involved in this one, would wrestle Akebono, the champion, like a legit champion sumo wrestler at WrestleMania 24. But, so they lock up. The guy who's trying to tell them the rules is, like, flubbing his lines. He's getting through it. He's like, yeah, so we got charges that might disable... They will disable your truck. Yeah, they'll disable your truck if you hit them. They're along the outer edge.
Charges, I don't really know what they do, but it might affect you in a negative way.
Could or could not.
We'll find out, right? All right.
But look at this mullet.
Yeah, mullet point was on.
Great mullet. He's like, I'm gonna. He's like, we're gonna solder together. We're gonna iron the. We'll put these together, and then
before they welded them, I thought they were gonna like try to like go at each other and like maybe one of them would like reverse last second, and then the other would drive over the edge.
I really like that they took the time to show the welding. Like,
right? Yeah, the guy comes in to weld it, and then he gets up on top of it on top of the trucks and basically goes, "Go," and then jumps off. And I'm like, there could not be a worse place for you to be in the scope of like the way that the story has been told. These two guys are like at odds with each other, and they want to win this for some reason. I don't understand why. Like, none of this makes sense. Other like, they're wrestling later in the night.
Screams 90s entertainment, by the way.
Well, it is like, so. Some context that I can fill in some blanks here. I don't remember. I haven't heard the full. I don't remember the full story about this. But around this time, WCW was trying to get into licensing so that people would license things, and WCW could make a profit off of that because they have been doing jack shit. And Eric Bischoff, who was on the call, is the president of WCW at the time. And he's like, Hulk Hogan, everybody loves Hulk Hogan, so we're gonna license Hulk Hogan stuff, but you can only license it if you also license something from WCW. So people want to do a Hulk Hogan monster truck, that's fine. You got to do something else. Like, you got to give us another one. And it's like, we just want the Hulk Hogan one. It's like, well, no, you're also gonna do a Dungeon of Doom one. That's right. And it's like, Jesus fucking Christ. But it's just like, what? It's such, wrestling has a very interesting thing with promoting products where they're basically, people are just given products that they have to promote, and they're like, well, we're gonna make a match out of this. Like,
that's probably where the money was coming in primarily then, right?
Well, for the most part, like, for example, like, it still happens to this day. My best friend Drew McIntyre had a SummerSlam match revolving around destroying somebody's motorcycle, because there's a product that came out that features him destroying a toy motorcycle. Like, the week of that it was announced, it was just like, hey, you stole my sword, I'm gonna destroy your motorcycle. And it's like, what? Where did this come from? And then it's like, coming to, this week, available at all Walmarts, Kmarts, and anywhere you can get toys. Wreck-em Drew McIntyre. It's like, what the fuck? But it's a very weird, it's just like a weird concept to be like, yeah, we're going to have like our biggest good guy and our biggest bad guy who will fight over the title later tonight. They're going to fight over a monster truck sumo match too.
Well, I feel like maybe the end goal of that was to try to get more people in that weren't already in the wrestling atmosphere. Because you're mentioning monster trucks earlier, right? So people that love monster trucks, there could be that spillover. Maybe they didn't watch wrestling and then hadn't given it a shot yet, but for sure, they'd check it out if there was a monster truck.
I just feel like that demographic can't be that far off.
It's a big circle.
Maybe they're checking it out already.
It's a big circle.
Who are we missing? I don't think Monster fans were like,
I don't mean to despair, but WCW at this time, even though it's nationally televised on TNT, it is still viewed as an extremely Southern wrestling. So, like, the idea, like, the stereotypical wrestling fan of the belligerently drunk grandma yelling with a thick Southern accent at some smoke-filled arena, they're not that far removed from it. Like, this is only 95, and they recently, like, within the last year and a half at this time, took it out of those arenas. But you still had those grandmas showing up drunk as fuck to yell at wrestlers. So the idea that, like, the demographic is absolutely, like, if it's not a full circle, it's like a sliver of the people who don't watch.
Fair enough.
But, like, I think, like, I feel like it was more towards, like, a licensing of a product. Like, well, we can get toys out of this. But, like, I'm not gonna lie, I enjoyed watching it again. Like, I've seen it so many times. It's still a lot of fun to watch two monster trucks play tug of war, or I guess not even tug of war. I guess it's just a sumo match. On top of a building. And I forgot how big the fucking circle is again. Like, they took up that was a very like, those monster trucks did not take up a lot of space in those circles. But no, not at all. Like, it's just,
well, that's why they had to weld them together, I guess, then, right?
I mean, I would have liked to see
him tug of war.
Well, it was like a sumo, because they're pushing it's like a reverse tug of war. It's a push of war.
Oh, true.
So,
yeah.
Like, I would have liked to see, like, a tug of war would not have been as fun, right. But a demolition derby would have been more fun.
Yeah, I feel like that, though, on the insurance scale might have been a little bit more, little bit higher.
You just don't do it. Just do it on the ground. Like,
well, I'm just saying.
I'll just like, I don't know. Like, what else would you want to see a monster truck do? Like, drag race? But
that'd be fun.
That would
I'd
be
watch that.
Best of 3. But I feel like
there's some cars out there too. Yeah. Make it weird.
Make it weird.
You gotta keep it. The matches ain't over too fast. No one drives over each other and breaks the vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
So it had to kind of like feel like organic and real, but still be like very well scripted.
Well, like, I'm not in the business of like, it wasn't my money they were spending, so I want them to like just fucking plow into each other at 60 miles an hour. I want to see this. I want to see this 1,500 horsepower running on alcohol and freedom machine. All right.
Yeah, they did really kind of like cut down on the whole like.
Yeah, see the way they hyped it up. That's what I thought was going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where they would just keep hitting each other and just bouncing off.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just like push and pull. It's like we don't really ever see the full,
No, it's way more like choreographed than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Like,
and you had like both of the guys just acting constipated in their respective vehicles.
Yeah, what were those scenes like?
Hulk Hogan sweating.
Holding on, being like, oh boy, I really should have had that third burger before this.
He's just.
I realized that they shaved his upper lip just so you could see like his expression better in the vehicle in the dark. Like that was
the sweat. He was sweating up a storm in there too. Like I know that those suits are hot, but like my man was sweating bullets. And like I like that at the very start where you see both of them like in the cars, like you can see them like being into it. They're like, yeah, and then like 2 or 3 minutes into it, Hulk Hogan's just like, I guess, come on, I just want to get all right, let's go. Like they like sell it as him being like uber focused, and it's just like he's just uninterested in this at this point. Like he's upset that this is happening still.
I think what's just incredible is like how much stuff something like because you got to think there's a lot of money in it, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But you think too in the 90s, it probably like the money was there, but was it as much as it is like maybe now, right? Like it's wild to me to think about how far they push I mean, they're on a rooftop basically, or whatever that is, driving monster trucks, which could easily go over.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah,
those walls,
even though
and then they're gonna push a guy off the roof. Like,
so
there's a lot of stuff here that could go bad.
So
like they pin the trucks together, and like obviously they did it just then, but like it's crazy to me. Like because you think now, I can't imagine. I mean, I haven't watched wrestling in a hot minute, but I feel like something like that. If you walked up to the folks at in the management office, were like, yeah, this is what we want to do. Like the amount of hoops nowadays you'd have to go through. Mm-hmm. Like it's such a time capsule kind of thing.
Those were the glory days back then.
Do it now. Like it's just
no. I mean, even then, like comparatively to WWE at the time, WWE was a private company. Vince McMahon owned it. Vince McMahon was the final say. If he wanted to do, something similar, all he had to do was give it the okay and they could do it.
Yeah.
Whereas like WCW, they have to go through corporate. They got to get it cleared with Turner. They got to get it cleared with a whole bunch of things. And it's just like, just let us have monster trucks, damn it. we just let us do cool shit with monster trucks.
It's like, there's one thing we haven't used. What's that? Monster trucks. It's probably like the guy planning it went to a monster truck event the day before.
Oh my God,
like
mostly
the day before a meeting. He's like, Halloween, monster trucks. That's the answer. That's what we need right there.
Can you imagine the meeting to pitch it? All right, what does everybody dress up as for Halloween? Monsters. And what are the biggest monsters? And they're like,
what do you drive? Truck.
They're like, Jason, Michael Myers, Frankenstein. No. Think bigger. And they're like, Godzilla?
No, a little smaller.
Small. Think mechanical. Mechagodzilla? It's like smaller. Right idea.
I do think one thing's kind of funny though. Like Jedi was bringing up like how intense the storytelling was. Like the build up, the trailer for that was so intense. It's just like it's funny to me how much they relied on, because I mean, you didn't have as much access then as you do now. Like you could run a social media account as that character or whatever nowadays, and that could be added into the normal like portfolio of things your fans see. But back then it was like whenever the broadcast exists, so you had to do the recaps and you had to really like stress like the arrangements or the relationships and stuff like that in that broadcast. So it's kind of cool to see that perspective too, and how that's changed given the rise of social media and more access to these folks.
Yeah, it's like people nowadays wouldn't find that as believable, I guess, even though it was scripted. But
well, I mean, that's not what you said. You were super into it. I think did you even ask if this was like just happened?
That's true. No, but it was good. That's what I mean. Like, it was really well done, and that brought me into the hype zone for it.
Wrestling has a very. I've said this before. It's not my take. It is somebody else's take, but I will borrow it. It's professional wrestler Xavier Woods, otherwise known as Austin Creed. He's a big fixture in video games. I think he's a G4 host and whatnot, but he's also a professional wrestler. He has said on record, and I agree, that professional wrestling is the last form of Shakespearean storytelling. With the idea of being like, so you think about Shakespeare, all the audience sits up higher. The players of the play are on the ground. The ring, everybody's looking at them. There's 360-degree entertainment, all this shit. And the fans kind of get to dictate how the story goes, and that's where like a lot of the plays kind of would turn into the final form. Is you go out there, you tell the story one way, and if people didn't enjoy it, you went, all right, next time we do this, both people, like Romeo only dies. Like, no, people, they want them to both die, like, but the idea of like like, it's just, everything about it is very Shakespearean, and it is, and this is what the other reason why my like tagline for the podcast is, wrestling is more fun when no one takes it serious, because when you're not getting involved in like, oh, who are the ratings? Who won the ratings? What was the demographics? How much like people are literally watching television shows and being like, there was, out of a 2-hour show, there was 17 minutes of wrestling, and it's like, it's a variety show. Like, it's not just, wrestling is so much more than the actual in-ring thing. It's the story being told.
No, wrestling is entertainment. And
So
all encompassing.
Like, we watched, I don't know, 15 minutes of a wrestling show. None of it was wrestling. Jedi was entertained.
Like, very much. I was gonna say, I'd be like arguing that the build-up was worth more than the actual event itself right there.
And like, that's the thing, is like, this is just the first part of the story. This is the story they're telling is not over for the night. They have a wrestling match later. They're supposed to have a wrestling match later tonight. And I say supposed to, because if you were like me, you knew this ahead of time. If you watched along while I told you to go watch, or you're listening to this and you're wondering why I said they're supposed to be. After Hulk Hogan wins the sumo match, pushes the giant out of the circle, they disable the vehicle so nobody can get things as nice. The giant gets out. And the giant is a very large man. His head is at eye level with the back of the trucks. And he's chasing down Hogan. Hogan's fearing for his life. So what does Hogan do? He runs towards the edge of the building. And naturally, as one would do when you're back against the wall or the ledge of a building, they get in a fight. And Hulk Hogan is vastly outmatched. They get up on the ledge. Hulk Hogan is about to get chokeslammed off. And he breaks the grip, and over the edge goes the giant in a very cartoonishly, like, as you could imagine, a cartoon giant going over and going, oh, and then just going over, and Hulk Hogan being remorseful, going,
and
oh shit,
waiting for a splash.
And yeah, we're just waiting. Like, that's the thing, is I'm waiting for this giant splash that, like, just to make, they should have leaned into the cartoonishness of it and just had to splash, like, come up. But no, they cut to, as Slayer was saying earlier, they cut to a shot of the water, poorly lit, just water, going
could have been
on.
in the last town they were in. They're like, hey, go ahead and grab a shot of that lake. Oh, look at that.
It's supposed to be the river in Detroit, and like that he landed in there, but Hulk Hogan's running for help, and by running I mean he's like kind of like Hulk Hogan at this point has been falling on his one side of his hip for roughly 12 or 13 years at this point, like almost nightly. So it's very clear that that's not doing his body any good. So he's kind of like doing this run limp, and it is he's begging, he's asking for people to help his vile rival because sure he wants to beat him and get revenge for almost paralyzing him twice, but to kill him, that's a little too far. And it's like every hero in every story.
It's just so like crazy how it like it just blows my mind, like how everything's set up and built and all that stuff. And they were doing this like almost weekly, right? Like
yeah. They were, yep.
It's so wild, just the sheer production value. You know, I'm a film guy, so I look at it like from this lens. I mean, like being into video and stuff like that, like it kind of ruins some of it. And I feel like because you know that you learn the tricks, right? You learn kind of how they do it, and then it kind of like kills the movie magic that exists when you go see a movie starts to fade.
Yeah, that's fair.
Once you figure out, oh, they're wearing wires. Oh, the camera's doing this, you know, and all that jazz. But it's pretty incredible to see like how this thing is held up. Like wrestling in general has held up through generations, and you have moments like this that are just so outlandish and crazy, like, you know, driving these monster trucks on this roof. There's so many safety problems with this.
There are, yeah, it's pretty wild.
It's so, I mean, how long has Hulk Hogan been involved in wrestling? I know he's not as involved now.
So at this point, he's been wrestling for 15 years. I want to say he's been wrestling for 15 in 1995. He was
in his like 40s or something too, wasn't he?
He was entering his 40s. So he's like, and it's like one of those things of like, there's wrestlers nowadays who are entering their primes at 36, and like Hogan was at like the end of his prime, or at least his first prime, at like 38. So it's just this wild thing of like how like professional wrestling has always been an older man's kind of game, because you want to it takes you a little bit to understand the inner workings and how to get over in front of a crowd, what works, and you might spend a couple years learning the craft and then learning how to work, and then you have to you're like, oh, I figured out how to be a good guy wrestler. Fuck, I need to be a bad guy wrestler. So now I have to learn that. So you're like, oh, fuck.
It's funny, like, we're talking about characters that I mean, you know, are in reflecting back to like when we knew some of these guys and stuff like that. And a lot of those guys have been involved in the last couple of years. Like, and that was 20 plus years ago, that clip. Like, wait, these guys aren't that far removed. Like, they've either made appearances, like I know Goldberg was around not too long ago doing some, you know, shenanigans. So
yeah, he was literally wrestling last.
Still the family household name.
He was Goldberg literally had a WWE Championship match last month.
Okay, well, that was more recent than I thought.
yeah. And that's the thing is like wrestling is also like, people will get mad at wrestling companies for relying on nostalgia acts, sometimes too much, but wrestling has always done that, because you go with your job as a promoter is to promote the best show, the show that'll make you the most money. So if you can go to a person like you guys, who, if I go, hey, Hulk Hogan's wrestling, you would go,
yeah, nostalgia factor is big for me.
Okay, I gotta see this, because there's no way Hulk Hogan he can't be wrestling that well, and it monetarily it works, because you're appealing to the people who are like, people are already gonna watch the match to watch John Cena versus Roman Reigns, or to watch the event. They're gonna watch it for that. They're gonna watch it for, you know, Bianca Belair versus Sasha Banks, or this person versus that person. And it's like, if you're into wrestling, I don't need to sell you on to watch wrestling. I need to sell the person who used to watch wrestling, or who might watch wrestling, to watch wrestling. Yeah. And I think it gets lost. Like you were talking about like how knowing video and editing and the tricks and everything and productions in that sense kind of ruins the magic, but not for wrestling. And I think it's because wrestling is, at some point you grow up and you're like, okay, this is scripted. Oh, he's not bending. Oh, okay, that guy's not bending his knees to pick this guy up. That guy's bending his knees to jump up. Oh, okay. Or like, oh, he's actually not. Oh, okay. Well, when he's hitting him in the face with his foot, he's also, that's not the sound of his foot hitting his chin. That's the foot of his hand hitting his thigh. Oh, okay. And it's like, okay, I don't give a fuck, because I still get caught up in the stories that get told, which, like, are harder to do nowadays because everybody has to be the smartest person watching the product. Oh, I know what they're doing. It's like,
armchair bandits, yeah.
It's the worst. I mean, we would do it with like role play. I'm also not exempt from it. I will catch myself doing it sometimes.
Oh, sure, yeah, same here.
But it's just like, you're like, that's not what I would have done. This is how I would have done it. And it's just like, man, it's a lot more enjoyable if you just sit there and watch. And then afterwards go, well, here's where I would go from there. Because there's no point in going, oh, this is what I would have done. Because what you would have done can't happen now, because it's already over. You were playing by different, like a different context. Also, what you would have done doesn't matter because they weren't going to do it anyway. It's like, you're not in the room. It didn't matter what you would do. But like in the scope of like professional wrestling just being this almost timeless thing, it's like superhero movies, but in real life.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, I guess to a degree that makes sense. Like, if you saw Goldberg, you might think Goldberg's like your Captain America for kids now.
Yeah,
like at the time, like, in comparison, say, because like you didn't have Marvel movies then. You had, I mean, you had Batman, but
yeah, but
that wasn't your vibe.
But like George Clooney also showed up on ER, right? Like he was on ER and he was on other things, and Val Kilmer was in Tombstone and other things. So like, you would see these guys and it would kind of break the immersion of that's Batman. Whereas like, which is why Marvel is very smart in not letting people do anything else while they're under a contract.
Yeah. Well, I think it's also this thing too. Like, I watched a little like snippet of like The Undertaker talking since his retirement. I don't know. He was like on a podcast or something like that talking about, he stayed in character when early on, wherever he went.
Yeah.
Like he would wear the get up, like he'd go to dinner, he'd wear everything, and
that's cool.
stay the part, because that was, especially then, again, without like, the social media and all that stuff. I can't imagine how much that changed the game for a lot of these guys, both maybe in a negative capacity and in a like helpful character, building way. But he stayed in character because people saw him like that once a week or whatever in the outfit. So I guess he would go and show up to a restaurant and he'd wear the hat and the coat and all that jazz. So it's kind of, that's kind of cool too. They would remain in that world. But you're right. Like, yeah, you'd see George Clooney looking
not Batman
in scrubs, but yeah.
What's Batman doing in the OR? What is he doing? Why is he kissing that nurse? What the hell?
That's not Catwoman. I don't know. It's pretty crazy. Like I remember it being such a thing in school too. Like I had a bunch of friends that were watching it, and I remember friends watching the WWF while I was watching WCW. So it's not as many of them knew what was going on in WCW because they were all into WWF, and I wasn't watching that. So it was like there's like FOMO there, but it's pretty crazy to go back and like look at, because that was probably like just maybe what year was that, Grumm?
What we watched was 95.
95. So it's probably like right before I got into it.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you remember, so a year after this, Hulk Hogan has already turned his back on WCW, joined the NWO, has stolen. Also, so did the Giant. The Giant also turned his back on WCW and joined the NWO at this point. A year after this, he had the title. He spray painted the title NWO, and everybody's like, "Well, fuck, what are we gonna do? They got our title." It's like, well, we got to get it back. We got to save WCW. So it's probably right before you coming, because if you remember being betrayed by Hulk Hogan joining the NWO than it's like 9 months like after what we just watched.
That's so wild.
Yeah.
Like that's those guys showing up with the t-shirts, and the all black. That's why like when he was wearing all black, I'm like, wait, is this just around the time?
It's close.
It was just for his mustache. So
no, he goes all Hollywood and like going back to talking about like being a bad guy, like Hulk Hogan, they were presenting like the NWO was like not a hokey. Like they were given like a very realistic vibe where they wouldn't talk like, look here, brother, we're gonna do this. It's just like, hey man, like I'm Kevin Nash. I'm big sexy. NWO is the way to go. Like, and then you have Hogan where he's like trying to do a promo that he's not used to doing, and it's like he's trying to like he'd figured it out by the end of '96, where he's like, all right, brother, I'm Hulk Hogan, I'm Hollywood Hogan, baby, and I do what I want. I'm the reason why wrestling exists the way it does, and it's like, oh, fuck this guy. Fuck you, Hogan. Like, and he turns into one of the biggest heels of all time because he's just like, yeah, I am the shit. Like, it's just a matter of a fact.
Coming out with fireworks and stuff and everything.
Yeah. There's one of my favorite pictures is when he announced that he was going to run for president in the year of 2000. He came out wearing a giant black and white feather boa with a New York Yankees like fitted like winter hat. Like,
you know what? I also remember when the Tiger King said he was going to be president. So,
look, Hulk Hogan could have ran and probably won. That's, I mean, it's a scary
thing. That kind of popularity for sure. He could have.
Yeah. But yeah. So, I will spoil. So if you are listening to this and you want to know what part 2 pertains to, part 2, which is next week's episode. Next week's episode talks about the main event, which is Hulk Hogan versus the Giant. As it was advertised, what happens afterwards is also Dork Side worthy. But if you're not interested, if you want to save it for yourself, now is the time to pause this episode. Spoiler ahead. If you want to just be surprised and wait a week, that's cool. You could fast forward roughly 15 minutes, and in 15 minutes I'll let you know if we need to if we're still talking about it. But just go from 15 minutes from now, and we'll be done. So for the next 15 minutes, I'm going to tell these two what happens later in the night.
Ooh, I'll get the popcorn.
Okay, so now if you're still listening to this is your fault. So later in the night, what happens is Giant falls off. They spend the next 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes of the broadcast pondering what the fuck's going to happen because they still have they still have to have a world heavyweight title match. So Hulk Hogan comes out, he's got the title, and he's just like, well, I guess I killed this man, died, I defended myself, like it's an accidental death, like all this stuff, like he's waiting to like, I mean, that's what it was. He was defending himself.
It gives self-defense vibes the way.
Yeah. So like, it gives off like he's like, well, he's also remorseful. He's like, oh my god, like I didn't want to die myself.
Yeah,
I didn't want him to die.
And the Giant was the one that instigated it.
Correct.
Right?
So the Giant falls off of this 5-story tall building. Not 30 minutes later is the main event. Hulk Hogan comes out with Jimmy Hart, and he is got the title belt, and he's wondering what the hell is what's going to happen, because to his knowledge, his opponent is dead. Out comes the Giant, normally 100% fine, as if nothing happened to him. Walks out in his wrestling gear, ready to fight Hulk Hogan. And Hulk Hogan is just flabbergasted. He's like, this motherfucker snapped my neck twice. I threw him off a building, and he doesn't even have a limp. He just walks straight out.
Was he even wet at all, or was
he
like fresh?
Nope. He comes out looking like nothing happened, and everybody's like, "What the fuck? Didn't you die?" It's like this guy, like big, just wrestling and anime have very similar vibes to it. It's definitely like the moment in like Dragon Ball Z where they're like, all right, we killed Perfect Cell. He's dead. And he's like, I'm not dead. What the fuck? Like, it's, And Hulk Hogan's freaking the fuck out. Jimmy Hart's freaking the fuck out. And then Jimmy Hart turns on the Giant, or turns on Hulk Hogan and joins up with the Dungeon of Doom. He low blows Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan loses the title to the Giant. So the Giant, who fell off of a 5-story building, won the world title later that night. And not like later that night as in a couple hours, maybe 30 minutes later.
I'm upset that he didn't come out like with like seaweed.
Right? Wouldn't that would have been funny.
Like that would have been good.
Or like holding one of the marker boys from the river.
Yeah, like come on, like
so
dragging some stuff behind him.
Yeah, no, right? Like he's got an anchor tied to him, like make him look that much bigger. No, right. So that's not even the part of this that makes this a dork side. So as you guys remember, during the nice cinematic recapping of the story that Jedi was so enthralled by, they had teased the master, the guy who was like sitting on a stone throne was talking about the Yeti, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he said that the Yeti would be unleashed. They unleashed the Yeti woke up and the Yeti would be at Halloween HaVoc. So, as Hulk Hogan is being held in a crippling bear hug by the Giant, out comes what can only be described as the Yeti. And I say the Yeti because Tony Schiavone kept calling him not the Yeti, but the Yeti. At the time, the Dungeon of Doom is they have like Loch Ness. They got a guy from Glasgow, Scotland, who is a big chunky dude. He's weighing at like 475, 500 pounds at like 5'10", big man, like wide man. They called him Loch Ness. They have another guy called the Shark. They got another guy called Zodiac. They've got like all these ideas is that these are mythical. The Giant. There's the mythical figures, right? Being represented by, wrestlers. So now you have the Yeti. Problem with the Yeti, though, is the Yeti looked more like the Mummy. They basically told this...
Oh, was that who was coming out at the thing at the end there?
Yes.
Oh, I thought that was a mummy. Oh, dear.
No, that's the Yeti. So the Yeti, I'll show you a picture of him. The Yeti, otherwise known as Ron Reese, who I am exactly 1 degree away from. I know a guy who works with him, which is very funny. He does stock. He's big.
Bring him in. Let's go.
He's big into stocks. The Yeti is an unfortunate attempt at a professional wrestling to capitalize on just a guy's big size. And
yeah, that's still a mummy.
That's the Yeti. That is the Yeti. That's the Yeti. Sorry, that's the Yeti.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, I think that's a mummy, though.
So as the Yeti comes down...
He doesn't even look cold.
No, it's not. The Yeti comes down.
All out of, like, Egyptian pyramid vibes. Right
so the Yeti comes down. He's being sicked onto Hulk Hogan. Well, Hulk Hogan is currently in the arms and a bear hug of the Giant. And the second picture I sent you is what happens there. Is that he basically wraps his arm around the back because he cannot reach around both Hulk Hogan and the Giant, and he doesn't have the wherewithal to like get underneath Hogan's arms so that he can look. So he just kind of puts his arms over the shoulders of the Giant and then gyrates his body.
Okay.
So that's what
pretty strong move.
Yeah. So that's what happens here with the what happens after this match. Thoughts?
That was the pretty big letdown from where we were,
Yeah,
like a half hour ago.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Monster trucks. We really, I don't know who got more confused, us or them, when they were putting it together. All I know is that I just sent you a screenshot back. That's Jedi right now.
Just in shock of what's going on. Look,
yeah, you don't even look Jedi in that picture. We obviously captured while you were at the event. You don't even look blown away by it now.
No, not really. No.
really
more like a man who accepts what he sees, but he doesn't like it.
Yeah, you're watching basically a softcore porno.
Okay, there we go.
No, I'm serious.
Well, that took a turn. That's
well,
not what I
no,
would have
okay,
called it, but
no, because like as the move, it is literally like Big Show has this bear hug, but he's like pulling Hogan in, and it looks like he's like thrusting his hips towards him. And on the other end, you have this mummy Yeti man in toilet paper and a dirty tank top, just gyrating his body.
dirty tank top.
Yeah, aren't like Yetis hairy? Like
They're supposed to
that's
be, yes.
that's like Bigfoot from the snow climates.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm doing my due diligence and I found a clip of it, and
Oh, have
this
you?
is
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go
this
ahead.
is-
Nice. Yeah,
Would
okay,
you-
here we go.
Yeah, go ahead. Go. There you go. Yeah. Well, go ahead and watch. Go ahead and watch that. All right. Actually, you know what? Here, what can we do? Because it is not enough. Here it is. As you can see, he's doing the bear hug, right? He's got the bear hug. He's telling him, "Come on down. Come on down. Save him. Save Hogan." Nope. Jimmy Hart banging title. There's the Yeti. He's just coming down, big boy.
I'm getting mummy vibes from it.
Yeah.
this.
Well, look,
Why did they roll him up in toilet paper and not just have it the mummy? What was the like?
I don't, because they had said he was the Yeti. Now, he is a big man. He is a large man. But look, there it is. There it is.
Aching going on.
Yeah.
Is he like grappling him because he's so strong and like resisting?
Yep.
And then like their combined body weight like collapsed his lungs. Is that what the idea was there?
It's the idea.
And then dispose of the corpse, and that's it.
Nope.
We're good, right?
No, we're not done. We're not done. Lex Luger is going to put him on the torture rack.
Oh snap!
And that's it.
Yeah, it seems like some weird rendition of like the Monster Mash I'm watching.
It was a monster.
Was the mummy
And there it is again. There it is again.
Mummy, so they're like, we only have enough money for toilet paper because we did the monster trucks. So
yeah, a little bit. If you probably should have saved a little bit of the money on like the monster trucks, a little bit, and at the very least, put more thought into. Look at it, like he's now again in Ron Reese's defense. Ron Reese, one of the good guy, just a real good guy apparently. I don't know him well enough. The guy I know that works with him just knows that he's into stonks, big stonks. But look, he's holding his arms out like a mummy, and
yeah,
because he thinks he's dressed up as a mummy.
That's
Because he is dressed up as a mummy. And there is
no one like briefed him and said, "You put this on. You're in character now. You'll know what to do."
I could just someone afterwards like, you do realize you were a Yeti. What? What's a Yeti?
What's a Yeti? What do you mean? I look like a fucking mummy though.
Dear diary, today I was a mummy and it was great.
Yeah, so that
I was thinking like dry ice, like some weird shit going on, you know, like
no.
fur coming out of the toilet paper that I saw earlier. But
yeah, that's what I'm
no, we
picturing too,
went full toilet paper and
you like fangs and like claws and like your chest is like not hairy, you know?
yeah.
Yep. That's like you could have got somebody who's really pale but really hairy. That would have worked.
I'm just gonna go with they spent all the money on the monster trucks.
Mm-hmm.
They could have. It's like the one picture I sent of you of the hug. Like it's very clear they were using toilet paper.
Yeah, like they didn't even really. It's like gauze. Like
yeah.
That's
it. It looks like they took a T-shirt and like wrapped it around his head, or like he had a.
But first, he would have rolled around in like the back dirt or something.
Well, that's the other thing, right? Is he looks they like. This isn't like this is the first time he's debuting, and this is a miscommunication between like the creative team and the production team. We're like, oh, it's the Yeti. It's like, no, we changed it. The Mummy forgot to tell you. No, he was announced the prior show on Monday Nitro, which is a national televised show, as the Yeti.
Did you imagine the costume designer like I'm assuming they had one or whatever, like being like, yeah, it's gonna look fine on camera.
It's just weird because they put so much production value into everything, and like the storytelling through cinematography earlier was just like on point. And then it's like, okay, we'll do this.
Yeah.
And what are you gonna do when you get in the ring? You're just gonna gyrate.
You're gonna
Everyone will get what's happening.
Violently hump him.
It doesn't matter.
Violently hump Hulk Hogan in the arms of the Giant. And then
it's awkward. Honestly, awkward.
It is awkward. It is absolutely.
How do the fans respond to it?
So the fans, as you can see in the video, they really don't give a fuck. They were already kind of
do they storm out? Do they want refunds?
No, I mean, some people threw some stuff into the ring. There was no refunds because it was just disappointment. There was nothing. They didn't, not promise. Like Halloween Havoc has a weird history for WCW. It is like one of their biggest shows of the year. But somehow they always left the show in worse condition than they left. So, for example, the previous year, 1994 Halloween Havoc, you had Hulk Hogan versus Ric Flair for the title. If Ric Flair lost, he would retire. He didn't want to retire, but they were like, you have to retire. And he's like, but I don't want to retire. They're like, all right, we'll have you off for like 3 months. And he's like, are you going to pay me? They're like, yeah, sure, we'll pay you. So you have that. The following year, this one, you end with the Yeti dry humping Hulk Hogan and the Giant. The following year, 1996, Hulk Hogan and Macho Man Randy Savage happens in a steel cage match, and it's just unnecessarily brutal and it just drags on and it goes way too long, and people are like, I still hate Hogan though. Like I hate Hogan. 1997 rolls by, and believe that was very similar, but this time with Roddy Piper, and Roddy Piper is like just even older and less athletic than Macho Man, so he's just kind of going through the motions and it's not going well. 1998 though, we get a double whammy. Halloween Havoc 1998, Slay's guy Goldberg is the WCW champion at this point. Him and DDP have a title match, but before that, the Ultimate Warrior had returned to professional wrestling 6 weeks before, maybe 8 weeks before, and he had a match at Fall Brawl where he would appear through the floor of one of the rings. One of the rings would have a trap door in it. Well,
that's kind of cool.
It is, except people had to wrestle in that ring. And more than one of them stepped on it. One of them legitimately hurt their back. Like to the point where they were out, they had to get surgery and they were out for like 9 months.
Oh, man. Also, we're at the 15-minute mark, by the way. Are we past our...
Oh, yeah, we're past... Yes, we're past the point. So we're just talking about how Halloween Havoc has wrapped up here. And every year, somehow, there is just a bad taste in the fans' mouth. But Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior have their rematch since WrestleMania 6 from Toronto. And Hulk Hogan wins by throwing a fireball attempting to throw a fireball into Ultimate Warrior's face, but the fireball goes off in Hulk's hand and never goes anywhere near Warrior, except Warrior pretends sells as it did, and they're like, well, fuck. I guess I'll just drop the leg and we'll go with them. It was a bad thing. But thankfully, hey, look, Diamond Dallas Page, Goldberg, great match. It was Goldberg's best match in his career. Except the pay-per-view went off at midnight.
Ugh.
Every time
your license was done, you mean, or
that's when the pay-per-view was done. It would stop airing and it would do a replay. The idea being you stop about 5 to 7 minutes sooner so that people can kind of get the replay going to get, it can get going, and then you can order the replay immediately after. Problem is, if you go over, you don't get a replay because the company didn't get it in time to start it at midnight. So they missed. So if you had paid the $45 to watch Halloween Havoc 1998 to watch DDP challenge Goldberg for the WCW title, you didn't get to see what happened because the match ends. The pay-per-view ends and the match goes on for another 5 to 7 minutes. So people are like, what the fuck? Refund. And they just, I think, and WCW, like 95% of their pay-per-view buys were refunded. It was like some astronomical number. Maybe 95 might be too big, but it was an astronomical number where they ended up losing money because of it. And then they ended up showing it the next night on WCW Nitro for free. The whole match in its entirety, commercial free, as a get right. Then in 1999, 99 happens, and the finish of the match, it was supposed to be Hulk Hogan versus Sting, and Hulk Hogan lays down. That's it. He just lays down. He walks out, lays down, and tells Sting to cover him. 1, 2, 3. And
was
then
they
they
protest or something. Or?
No, it was that was the way the way that the story was supposed to be told was Hulk Hogan was not happy with the new guys coming in, and he did not want to be a part of them. He did not want to be a part of WCW with those. They were doing a storyline where like there's new management coming, and he didn't want to be a part of it, so he was laying down. He was like, I'm done. And then 2000, Halloween Havoc 2000 ends with again Goldberg main eventing in a 1-on-2 handicap match that lasted 3 minutes.
Solid.
Yeah. And then that was the last Halloween Havoc. So it's very funny that WCW tied one of its tentpole events was Halloween Havoc, and every year, if you were a fan of WCW, you left with a bad taste in your mouth. And eventually the product got so bad, was not good enough to wash out the rest of it. Like 96, 97, they weren't great, but you're like, yeah, but NWO is really fun to boo, so we're fine doing that. And then 98's like, fucking give me my money back, and then it's just downhill from there. So
the beginning of the end.
Yeah, basically. It's just, I mean, it's kind of almost, it's very weird to now saying it out loud. It makes me want to go and like. Wish I had time.
But there's a resurgence now, though.
So, wrestling is coming back. Wrestling is fun again, in part due to All Elite Wrestling, which is ran by a guy from Marietta, Georgia, or part of Marietta, Georgia. The guy who owns the company is the son of the owner of the Jaguars and Arsenal? No. Some English Premier League team.
Huh.
Tony Khan. He's got like 6 executive vice presidents, one of which being Dusty Rhodes' son, Cody Rhodes. And they have a lot of good guys. They wrestling is fun again. I mean, wrestling has always been fun, but people are like,
again.
Yeah, people are like, oh, I love wrestling. It's like, man, I don't understand how you. I mean, I understand how you fell out. Like WWE can be boring and repetitive, but I like pro wrestling, so it's good stuff to watch. So. We'll wrap up here because we've been going a little long here, but appreciate you guys coming on. We'll
yes, it's cool, man.
Final thoughts.
Last time we even talked wrestling.
Look, that's the best part about this. I feel like this show is that I get.
It's like got me some good nostalgia.
I either get friends who are into wrestling or were into wrestling or people who never were into wrestling, and I show them these fun, goofy things that can be enjoyed. And you can just go, this was dumb. They pushed around each other in fucking monster trucks before one of them got thrown off of a building. That's
entertainment, though, man. That is entertainment.
So, final thoughts. We'll start with you there, Slayer. Final thoughts on the Sumo monster truck match.
I mean, it was cool to see. It's crazy that probably if I was younger, I would have bought into every little bit of that. It's
same, 100%.
Glued to a TV, and now I'm sitting here like a dad being like, man, this is insurance problems, like waiting. It's just kind of wild to see the progression and the changes over time that occur. I think that's always an interesting thing, and but golly, it's crazy seeing Hulk Hogan that young and the Giant, who I remember because I know him and Goldberg went back and forth a lot too when I was actually, paying a lot of attention. So yeah, that was wild, man. That was That is not what, like, if you were to pull a clip, obviously I would not have known it. I would have no indication that it would have been that.
Yeah.
But that was fun. It was fun to see.
Yeah. What about you there, Jedi? Final thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. It was a good trip down nostalgic memory lane here, because I'm pretty sure I remember seeing all those commercials and all the hype and like the build up for this exact fight. I don't remember if I saw it or not, 'cause I don't think I had like pay-per-view at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, in general, that was cool, and you can see these guys are like pioneers almost in the entertainment industry.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot.
So much stuff that just would not fly now for like safety and insurance. Yeah, and like obvious practicality reasons.
And the thing is like, this is like mid '90s, so this is peak like.
Yeah, this is the peak
American entertainment is still squeaky clean. Like 2 years from now is when like grunge hits and MTV gets raunchy, and we get like Limp Bizkit on every fucking channel. It's just like
American Gladiators and the wrestling. Those are like the two big things. And Price is Right.
Yep, and the Price is Right. Like, it's just funny to think about how wild the '90s were from where it started and where it ended. Like, if you just go from
so innocent too.
Yeah, it's everything is squeaky clean, very family friendly. Like, you don't want to get anybody really like. You don't want to try to push the envelope, because kids are, and to the point, they still are, were then. It was just, you're like, fuck it. The rules are now, we're showing titties on TV. And people are like, yeah, show titties on TV. Is that going to be an issue? That we'll worry about later. Like, it's like right before then is what we watched today. It was just wild to see.
Also, my final closing thought, you need a better Yeti costume.
We'll get into that next week when we talk.
No,
it's fine. That's fine. No. We talked about
thank you very much, Imperial Jedi.
You're really messing up today, Jedi.
But here's the thing: the majority of the people who are listening to this, they might know,
probably already know.
But the whole point of listening to Dork Side is the reactions of the people, of my guests. And getting them to watch this and go, what the fuck did I just watch? So that's a lot of fun. Jedi, I will give you the floor to once again plug your stuff, all of your content, and where people can find you. Let's see if you do a better job this time.
Sure, okay, I'll try. Yeah, so Imperial Jedi, you can find me over at YouTube, on Twitch, or on Twitter, and I do a lot of city building and simulation strategy games, and we just have a heckin' good time. So we welcome you on in. So come on over to a stream.
That was better. What do you think?
Yeah, that was much improved.
Much improved. More. At least you told people what you're about, which is good. Slay, floor is yours. Tell the people where they can find you, what you're working on, and the such.
Yo, I'm Slayer. It's gonna start off a little spicy. Just go opposite of the calm and collected Jedi.
Turn things down a little bit here.
Relax, dude. You just did your first one, basically. I know I'm Slayer, Slay3K. I'm on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube, and I also play some city builder games, some strategy games, and we do a bunch of community-oriented stuff in our Discord and on Twitch. So we have a lot of friends over to play games, and you can find us there about 4 times a week now. So
always a good time.
Hell yeah. That's those my guys. These are my guys. It's my guys.
So when are we actually recording this?
Yeah, I know, right? This is practice, right?
This was a practice.
No, guys. The next time, it's practice for the next time you guys come on.
Oh, okay. Yeah, right.
We got to renegotiate the contract.
Absolutely. I got to get you guys on. Just circle the pool, the guest pool. I got a lot of. That's the thing about this. I got a lot of friends, and I'm excited to mix.
Way to rub it in, all right?
Yeah, that was a weird flex.
What? You got a lot of friends.
I wish.
What?
No, I'm joking. You guys are my friends. That's true, right?
Hey, listen, can I just say this? I'm going to be disappointed if you don't invite us back in like 1 year from today. To watch the next year of the Halloween HaVoc.
Oh, that'd be cool. Okay.
I could do that. I could get you guys on sooner, though. I could also get you guys on sooner.
Yeah, I don't want to wait a whole year.
I mean, I'm just saying, okay, don't ruin my plan.
No, you guys are. I'm gonna, mix and match. I got a lot of people who are compatible with each other, and I got a lot of friends.
You're trying to say there's more important people.
No. I'm saying
we get it. You have a lot of friends.
I have a lot of friends, and I want my friends to be friends with you. I got a lot of different circles that I'm gonna like try to.
A lot of introductions to do.
Yeah, exactly. So
a lot of friends.
A lot of friends.
That's what I'm taking away from this.
You should. You have a lot of friends too, Slay.
Nothing else except Grumm's got a lot of friends.
I've got a lot of friends. I got a lot of friends.
Do you tell people to like and subscribe to this? Is that what they do?
No, I don't. No. So what you do is you go to my Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter at Dork Side Ring. Follow me on Instagram at Dork Side Ring. You can go, if you're an Apple Podcast user, go to the Apple Podcast store, search the Dork Side of the Ring podcast. We're there. Hit the plus sign at the top, and then leave a 5-star review, and that helps us grow.
Right on.
All for free. It's all free.
Wait, are you on Spotify as well, or just on?
I'm also on Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you can find podcasts.
Wherever you get your podcast material.
No, I might just use this as the.
Was that your podcast voice?
Oh, could it be?
I don't know.
Waited till now to do your podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you to the podcast. I'm Imperial Jedi, a 2-part series coming towards you today with wrestling in mind and Grumm and Slayer as our guests.
It took an hour and 53 minutes for him to sound like the professional that he is.
Right? This is ridiculous. This fucking guy. Good. Now you know how you're supposed to sound for the next one.
Okay, perfect.
We'll remind him 2 hours in. Where's the podcast?
Where's the podcast? Good times. Thanks for coming on, guys. I love you guys. Thank you for
good talking to you guys
us,
very much.
That's
love
the other thing.
Together.
It's an excuse to hang out with friends.
Totally, man. I love that.
Yeah, but when you have a lot of them,
Yeah, that's true, right?
I got a lot of friends.
Appreciate you squeezing us in, I guess, right?
Yeah. Well, who are you? You're one to talk, Slay, Mister. I'm just gonna have all my friends on occasionally to fuck around and kill people on Sea of Thieves.
Oh, I
don't know why I'm getting attacked right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Fair enough. All right. Love you guys. I'll let you guys get going. I've taken up enough of your time. Love you guys. Thank you, and I cannot wait for the next time you guys are on the Dork Side of the Ring podcast. Again, I hope you enjoyed. I had fun. It's always a good time, especially with those two guys. We goof off a hell of a lot. Thank you again to Imperial Jedi and Slay 3K. You can find Imperial Jedi on Twitch, twitch.tv/ImperialJedi. You can find him also on YouTube, youtube.com/ImperialJedi. And same for Slayer. You can find Slayer, twitch.tv/Slay3K and youtube.com/Slay3K. Go give those guys some support. Show them love. If we introduced them, if I introduced you to them, let them know that you heard them on the Dork Side and that's why you're here. That'd be great. That'd be very cool of you. I would appreciate that more than they would. They don't, and I don't think they would argue with that. But I love those guys. So, thank you guys. I love you guys. Also, stick for around next week. We will have the finish of this 2-part episode with my friend Jill. It's only Jill and Mopgarden, more Twitch streamers, my 2 friends, and all ladies all the time, baby. That's right. But it's also funny because we end up having like we watch and fun thing. They're both not like they both curse, right? But they didn't know it when we started recording. So like about halfway through, they realize we can curse. Or they can curse. So it picks up and is a very funny reason why. So that'll be fun to go over and do next week here on the Dork Side of the Ring. Until then, I want you to have a happy and a safe Halloween. If you're going to go out and drink, be safe. Watch your cups. Watch your friends' cups. Look out for strange people. Don't take candy from strangers. If you're, going to be trick-or-treating, have fun. Be safe. Watch out for drugs and razor blades in your candy. That's right. People put cheap razors and expensive drugs in your candy. Somebody would waste a whole 1/8 to put it in some Reese cups. And they probably wouldn't. Yeah, that's not. Look, be safe. Have a happy Halloween here from the Dork Side of the Ring. I am Grumm. Thank you again. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, at DorksideRing. Again, leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Tell your friends. Send the link. Share it on their preferred podcast platform, because that's where we are. We're on their preferred. You tell your friends that. That's right. Also, if you do feel inclined to do so, you are more than welcome to, but it is not required. But I do appreciate it. It is 113% appreciated if you go to support.grumm.tv and become a patron of myself and my content, of which the Dork Side of the Ring falls under. I have a new podcast coming out. I'm the producer of it. I help with it. It's good. It's coming out. It'll be a good time. I'll get to talk about that soon. And in the meantime, have a happy Halloween. I love you guys. Thank you so much. I'll see you here next time, where we don't take wrestling too much seriously, because, as we always say, wrestling is at its best when no one is taking it too seriously. I am Grumm, and I'll see you guys here next time on the Dork Side of the Ring podcast.